From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your MTN Statewide News this Monday. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, 2 more residents have died at a long-term care center in Billings stemming from the ongoing COVID-19 outbreak there. The patients both died over the weekend at Canyon Creek Memory Care. Yellowstone County Health Authorities say a woman in her 80s died Saturday and a man in his 80s died Sunday. In the last 2 weeks, a total of 12 Canyon Creek residents have passed due to complications of the virus. Now, the deaths bring the total deaths in Yellowstone County to 17, by far the most in the state. In fact, nearly half of the state's 39 total victims. There are 88 confirmed cases just today, 34 in Gallatin, 15 in Yellowstone, and 12 in Flathead. And Macomb County has now confirmed its first case. 48 people are in the hospital across Montana. Well, Congress will soon begin debating the next coronavirus relief package. But first, the Trump administration is talking with Republicans over what should be in it. Natalie Brand brings us details from the White House.
Republican leaders met with President Trump at the White House to negotiate the next coronavirus relief bill.
It looks like that new package will be in the $1 trillion range as we've started to look at it, whether it's a payroll tax deduction, whether it's making sure that unemployment benefits continue without a disincentive to return to work.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is expected to unveil the latest relief package this week. The Washington Post reports the White House does not want to include new money for coronavirus testing and contact tracing or the Centers for Disease Control.
When we heard over the weekend that the White House was thinking about no more testing, that it goes beyond ignorance.
A senior administration official tells CBS News negotiations are ongoing and the administration wants to make sure money gets to where it's needed most.
We are going to do everything we can to make sure that the CDC is fully funded in the stimulus package.
Negotiators on both sides say school funding will be a priority in this next bill, but it's not yet clear if that money will be tied to schools reopening in the fall.
There's going to be a funding problem because we're not going to fund when they don't open their schools. We're not going to fund them. We're not going to give them money if they're not going to school, if they don't open.
Vice President Mike Pence is scheduled to talk with governors today as states and local school districts work on plans for the next school year. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Now, most schools are locally funded through cities and states. However, the coronavirus pandemic has shattered state budgets due to large spending to combat the virus and a big cut in tax revenue. Well, some positive news in the fight against COVID-19. One test is now eligible for the fast track to lab results. Over the weekend, the FDA approved Quest Diagnostics for pooled sample testing. Now, that means multiple test samples can be sent in batches to a lab instead of just one at a time. However, health officials say it will not save time or money in virus hotspots. Pooling works by combining tests from several people. A negative result clears everyone in the batch, but a positive result requires labs to go back and retest each sample individually. Well, it's time now to check in this Monday with meteorologist Ed McIntosh, and it looks like we are headed for hot.
That's right. We start getting to the middle of the week, Jeanelle, and it could be really hot across the region. For us today, we're watching areas of storms in the eastern edge of Montana off into the Dakotas. Heavy rain, frequent lightning, hail, gusty winds, a big part of these storms across the area. A few storms have turned into severe storms through central South Dakota, but also northeastern Montana has seen fairly good activity through the morning. But once these storms start to wind down during the afternoon and evening, it's going to be all about how hot will it get as we get into the next several days. We'll take a closer look at that. Complete forecast details are just a few minutes from now.
All right. Thanks so much, Ed. Well, Lake County Search and Rescue, along with other western Montana agencies, are now conducting recovery efforts after a man went missing in the Flathead River on Saturday. Lake County Sheriff Don Bell says the man and his friend were swimming in the river near a point commonly called Buffalo Rapids. While swimming, the friend says the victim jumped in the water from a cliff, came back up, and exclaimed the current was too strong as it pulled him back under. Now, the initial search has shifted to recovery efforts. Sheriff Bell says crews have contacted the hydroelectric dam to lower the water in that area. A 76-year-old Arizona man is the latest victim of a fatal crash on Montana's roadways. It happened Sunday afternoon just before 5 o'clock on Highway 72 south of Belfry in Carbon County. The Montana Highway Patrol says the man was trying to negotiate a curve when his Harley-Davidson left the road and collided with a guardrail. He was pronounced dead on scene. We are told that speed is a possible factor, and it did not appear that the man was wearing a helmet. No one else was involved or injured in the crash. Well, after the death of Georgia Congressman John Lewis, the state Democratic Party plans to name a nominee this afternoon for his spot on the November ballot. The legendary civil rights activist died Friday at the age of 80. Lewis served Georgia's 5th congressional district since he was elected to Congress in 1986. The Georgia Democratic Party announced late last night that more than 130 candidates had applied to take the position. Well, there's been a significant rebound in the U.S. job market. That's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the latest monthly unemployment report. Almost 5 million people were able to go back to work in June. Businesses in hospitality and leisure, food services and drinking, and retail were able to do the most rehiring. Experts say while the news is encouraging, they expect a lull when the July numbers come out next month. Well, as we know too well, the COVID-19 pandemic has kept nursing home residents away from their families. Today, MTN's Gabby Crevitt shows us how one family is using music to reconnect.
It's been really a tough time. My husband's sick and injured and the pandemic, and it means everything.
Robert Graham decided to take a road trip to visit his brother, who's recovering at the Gallatin County Rest Home. The plan, gather together a group of trombones and play outside his brother's room.
1,400 miles it took to get here.
You heard right. Robert drove from Virginia to put on a musical performance for his brother.
Jeannie Little, the current trombone instructor at Montana State, is an old friend of mine. She used to teach at James Madison University in Virginia. So I called Jeannie up and said, Jeannie, put together a trombone section for me, and I brought the music, and here we are.
The group of 5 trombones played a number of tunes, from hymns to classic brass melodies. Robert said it's all about the therapeutic nature of music.
It's resonance, and that's the reason I got my trombone group together. When you resonate chords with other people, you realize that you're connected to them in a very nonverbal way.
And that goes for everyone who's healing.
Our community is healing with each other, you know. We stay distant, we stay covered, but we don't have to stay isolated.
I'm just here to be here for him, and I think if he realized that I drove this way for him, it's because I love him. And sometimes all you can do is show up.
And for family, that means the world.
We have a lot of decisions, life decisions to be making here in our future. And thank goodness Robert from Virginia and musicians from MSU put a little joy in our hearts during tough times.
In Bozeman, Gabby Crevitt, MTN News.
Great story, Gabby. Thanks so much. Well, up next on your noon news, we are going to chill out on an ice rink where one Montana native is inspiring youth to lace up and hit the puck. But first, Ed McIntosh is in next with your statewide weather forecast.